This may come as a surprise to some of you, but even a VGC nerd like me has friends outside of the Pokemon community who may not be as in touch with the competitive scene. Whenever I try to talk to them about a team I've been making, or about a tournament, I'm usually greeted with the same response.
But Krebs, you're using legendaries. That's so lame. I don't like when people use legendaries because they are so lame. You should win with something more cute, like Applin.
And while I do agree that Applin is very cute, it isn't always possible to avoid using legendaries in a fully optimized team. What do I mean by that? Well, in formats where legendary Pokemon are legal, the power level is too high for Pokemon like our little Apple, and non-legendary Pokemon may have a hard time keeping up with their glorified counterparts. The format's power level is the very thing that determines what Pokemon can and can't make it in the competitive scene. Sometimes their stats might be too low, or they're just a little too slow, or their moves just aren't strong enough compared to a deity that packs a little bit more punch. It's because of these varying power levels that I've come up with 2 points that I wish to discuss: the opportunity cost of using weak Pokemon, and why legendary is actually a superficial title. To talk about opportunity cost, I call upon my friend Zoich, who taught me what opportunity cost is before I even knew that it was relevant to Pokemon.
Hi, it's me. I'm also here. Opportunity cost is what you give up when you choose one thing over another. In team building, players are frequently faced with tough decisions when they're choosing the 6 members of their team. Because 6 is such a low number, every choice takes careful consideration. With so many Pokemon in existence, 905 by my estimate, some of them are bound to fill very similar roles in teams, but with their own nuances. For instance, Amoonguss and Indeedee both offer redirection, but their abilities and specific movesets make them very different. This is an instance where the choice between the two may not be as clear, and you need to assess what you need versus what you can give up when choosing between the two. The list of things you give up is the opportunity cost. However, not all scenarios are as complex as the choice between Amoonguss and Indeedee. Sometimes you just need to ask yourself, can another Pokemon do this job better? Here's an example. Let's take a look at 2 very similar Pokemon, Duraludon and Dialga. For this scenario, we're playing in Generation 8 VGC Series 12. Players are allowed a maximum of 2 legendaries such as Cosmog, Kyogre, Groudon, and Zacian. Dialga, the legendary we're going to focus on, is a Steel and Dragon type with excellent offensive coverage, good stats, and decent speed. Duraludon is also a Steel and Dragon type that has excellent offensive coverage, good stats, and decent speed. These 2 Pokemon are very similar in their appearance, so the choice between the 2 might not seem obvious until you look more closely. While Dialga and Duraludon both have good offensive coverage, Dialga has access to a larger and slightly stronger move selection, including Blizzard, Earth Power, and its signature Roar of Time. Dialga's defensive stats are also more evenly distributed, making it more versatile against a variety of opponents. Duraludon, sadly, struggles on the special side. Dialga also has access to a very critical support move, Trick Room, that can turn the tables on fast-paced offensive teams. When looking at the benefits of Dialga versus the struggles of Duraludon, the choice of who gets the spot on the team is much clearer. The concept of opportunity costs may not cross casual players' mind when they see us competitive players using lame legendaries, but the truth is that they are just better suited to the power level of the formats when they are legal. And if we're in a format where this is legal, you better bet I'm taking Dialga over Duraludon any day of the week.
Now, what is it that makes a legendary Pokemon so special? Is it because of how rare they are, or how cool they look on the box art? Well, what if I told you that none of that matters in the competitive scene? I know, shocker. In the competitive scene, legendary Pokemon are just Pokemon, because everything around them is just as strong as they are, with a few exceptions, of course. Basically, the title legendary doesn't mean anything, because they're surrounded by other legendaries. Something that cements this concept even further is the fact that without legendaries, the scene wouldn't really function any differently, and everyone would still try to use what's most optimal. Want an example? Let's think all the way back to when the Isle of Armor DLC came out for Pokemon Sword and Shield. A month later, the rules for Series 5 were released, and things got wild. At first, many players were fearful of the new Street Fighter wannabe Urshifu. Compared to anything else we'd seen before, Urshifu had a very interesting mix of offensive features that made it seem much too fierce for its competition. Additionally, the Swords of Justice from the Unova region were added to the fray with the release of Pokemon Home. However, despite being powerful legendary Pokemon, this group of fighting types had a hard time finding a place in the beginning of their debut format. What was the issue? None of them could keep up with the new monstrosities that were Libero Cinderace and Grassy Surge Rillaboom. This powerful duo of Galarian starters, along with a tight supporting crew, completely took over the format until they were banned completely in Series 6. But hold on, the Swords of Justice and Knockoff Ryu are legendary Pokemon. Shouldn't they have had the spotlight? The simple answer is no. Just because they're legendary, they are not special. Cinderace was just too powerful for them for a multitude of reasons, including speed, power, and a ridiculous ability. Without these legendary Pokemon running the scene, one could make the argument that for a time, Cinderace was actually a legendary. Does that mean that Cinderace is now lame and boring and people should use something else? No, it just means that it sets the standard for the power level of the format, despite not technically being a legendary. Just for a moment, I'd like to step back from the terms strong and weak. I want to instead use a different word, optimize. We've been throwing that word around a little bit, and I want to finally define what it means in the context of our discussion. When a Pokemon is optimized, it's simply better suited for the format. It has a better chance of bringing its users success across multiple games. As fun as it is to try to make less optimal Pokemon viable, players who want consistent success will turn their attention to things that will level the playing field or give themselves an advantage. I hope the concept of optimizing makes sense, and that maybe with my other points, I've been able to convince you that people who use legendaries aren't lame. They're just trying to make ends meet in a format that's too power-crept for its own good. If you have anything you'd like to say on this topic, go ahead and leave a comment, bring it up in my Discord server, or even reach out to me in the dark realm of Twitter. I want to say thank you to Zoish for helping me out with this project, and to you, the viewer, for sticking around.